New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
And a very pleasant good evening to you. It's Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. It is, once again, another fun-filled, thrill-packed, and yes, exciting show for Friday evening. And I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I am broadcasting this evening from the top secret radio room, surrounded by thousands, and I mean thousands of watts in the secure concrete bunker, somewhere around Akron, Ohio, that is so top secret that only one person knows where the top secret bunker is. And that is former producer Diego Reyes. Everyone else has no idea where the top secret bunker is located, especially the Reverend Dr. Robert Brzezinski. Now, this is what happened this evening. So I'm getting prepared for the Friday evening Fireside Chat, and I get a call on the hotline. You know, the red phone that glows. It's from Reverend Dr. Robert saying, can you do the good news this evening, which is every Friday evenings at 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Eastern here on your New Thought Media Network. After a few technical issues, I did the show and then had to get ready then for the Fireside Chat. I have not had dinner yet. Okay. My belly is growling. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order a pizza and put it on the New Thought Media Network debit card. And I said, well, if I'm in the secure concrete bunker, how are they going to get the pizza to me? Oh, don't worry. I'll eat afterwards. It's good to see everyone this evening. Again, please go ahead and we are live, so you can go ahead and put your comments in the chat. The purpose of our Fireside Chat weekly is to talk about contemporary issues from a New Thought perspective. And as I keep saying week after week, I want us all to have a new thought about what is going on around us, not only here in the United States, but also around the world. And you do not have to agree with me. I just want us to start thinking differently, to start having a new thought about how we can participate in the world because of, again, of our oneness. We talk about oneness each and every week at our centers, our teachers, our ministers, our practitioners all talk about that. Well, if we're all one, then we have a part in bringing about, again, a world that does work for all. Well, this evening, I do not have a guest. Well, I do. It's me. But the second half of our program, I will do a short lesson called Planting the Seeds for Your Prosperity. And this is in honor of Joel Osteen's new book this week called Speaking the Blessing. So stay tuned for prosperity teaching that you can use right now. And yes, we are going to do the news. And really, it's what interests me from the news sites. Yes, there is a lot of good news out there. And again, I just spent a half an hour reading the good news, and now the good news. here on the New Thought Media Network, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 7 o'clock Eastern, a half an hour of the best good news on the planet. It's important, though, that we don't ignore what is going on in the world so that we as spiritually minded individuals can be involved in bringing forth a solution rather than just complaining about the conditions of our world. And that's the reason why we have this program weekly. So the Fireside Chat is our weekly gathering to get a warm drink, alcoholic or not, sit by the fireplace and to have a heart-to-heart talk about what is going on in the world and hopefully to offer some solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, I have some good news to report this evening. You will not believe this. A miracle has happened. I got all of my information to the tax preparer before the April 15th deadline. And so for all of our international viewers, April 15th is the date when we have to file here in the U.S. our personal income tax report to the IRS, which is the Internal Revenue Service, our U.S. Taxation Department. Now, here's a fun fact that many of you do not know. Did you know that yours truly was a county tax collector for 32 years? Thank you to the Reverend Dr. C.C. Coltrane, who is our Dean of Holmes Institute, for starting Holmes Institute in Ohio to give me a reason to leave civil service. Now, getting back to the taxes. I was amazed at how quickly I was able to put together all the information because, again, that I'm a minister and I also have a part-time business doing wedding officiating, and my practitioner wife, Diana, she has a income property that it's kind of complicated to do the taxes. So we have to put all of that information in one envelope and send it to our preparer. And I kidded with the receptionist at the accounting firm that we use that I expected our taxes to be done by Monday. Now, I got that look back that said, yes, you're right. Ain't going to happen. And she was the first person that said that we're going to have to file for an extension so that we can get the paperwork in. So I hope everyone's happy that I got the taxes done in a prompt, timely manner. All right, time for the news this week. Taken from CNN, the Religion News Network, and also other credible news sources. This week, Muslims worldwide celebrated Eid al-Fitr in the shadow of Gaza's misery. From Istanbul, Muslims across the world celebrated the Eid al-Fitr holiday on Wednesday, marking the end of the holy month of Ramadan. But events were overshadowed by the worsening crisis in Gaza and Israel's expected military offensive in Rafah city after 6 months of war. In a holiday message, Turkey President Erdogan sent support to Gaza, which he called a bleeding wound on the consciousness of humanity. Inside Gaza, there was little joy. Palestinians in the refugee camp near Gaza City mourn loved ones among the 33,000 killed in the Israeli offensive in response to Hamas's deadly October 7th attack in Israel. Elsewhere around the globe, people were grateful for the plenty that they have after a month of fasting and reflection. And before the holidays, markets around the world were teeming with shoppers. Residents poured out of cities to return to villages and to celebrate with loved ones across and around the world. Jakarta's Grand Mosque, which is the largest in South Asia, was flooded with devotees. Preachers in their sermons called on people to pray for the Muslims in Gaza. This is a time for Muslims and non-Muslims to show humanitarian solidarity because of the conflict in Gaza is not a religious war, but it is a humanitarian problem, said the chair of the advisory board of the Indonesian Mosque Council. Our prayers for peace continue, not only for the Mideast, but also for the whole world. So as Passover approaches for our Jewish brothers and sisters, let us keep up the pressure on the Israeli government to allow humanitarian aid into Gaza. I understand that Israel was attacked last year in a terrorist raid. That's the only way of describing it. And civilian deaths continue to mount in Gaza, 33,000. And it's estimated that that count is low. And opposing the stance of the extremely conservative Israeli government does not show a lack of support for the citizens of Israel and Jewish people from around the world that have undergone persecution and genocide for centuries. As it says in the Jewish Bible or the Old Testament, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and also all of the Mideast. Also in the news this week, probably not reported on many of your news broadcasts, at Yale, Christian pastors signed a declaration opposing religious nationalism. A group of Christian pastors and theologians have signed a declaration committing the signers to preach on moral issues ahead of the 2024 election and opposing what the group calls religious nationalism. The document defines religious nationalism as a political movement that says that it is exploiting traditional values to undermine democracy. This distorted religious nationalism has persuaded many well-meaning Christians to focus on a narrow set of divisive cultural wedges while ignoring the real moral issues that are at the heart of our scriptures and also of our tradition. The declaration reads, the declaration states, we love this nation, before taking on what it describes as a political movement that has co-opted our faith tradition. In the document, it said this, it says, we repent of not doing more to preach and to teach against this misuse of our faith. And we pledge to proclaim in word and deed a public theology that is good news for all people. The Reverend William J. Barber II, shown there, he is the founding director of the Yale Center for Public Theology and also Public Policy, said he hoped that the conference helped to educate pastors about the issues that the Bible prioritizes, which are social inequality and also injustice. Barber said this, he said that the very things that the prophets and that Jesus put at the center as primary are not being heard in the pews of this country. Some of the initial signers of the declaration are the Reverend Jackie Lewis, who is the pastor of New York City's historic Middle Church, Shane Claiborne, who is an activist with the Red Letter Christian organization out of Philadelphia, Bishop Yvette Flunder of the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, and also Willie James Jenkins, who is a Yale Divinity School professor and also theologian. The conference itself featured a range of academic experts on Christian nationalism, including Philip Gorski and also Anthea Butler. Participants were also invited to watch a new documentary on the rise of Christian nationalism called Bad Faith. But the bulk of the conference was devoted to helping pastors and other Christian leaders better understand the issues that Barber cares about the most, which are poverty, racism, voting rights, criminal justice, and also health care. Barber said this, he says, Christian nationalism glorifies hating, almost sustaining others, when our Christian teaching from scriptures calls us to embrace our neighbor, and it doesn't decide who our neighbor is. It calls us to love everyone with the love of God. So as someone who has read and is reading several books on Christian nationalism, let me say that there is nothing Christian about Christian nationalism. This move to return America to its Christian roots is as unconstitutional as it gets. The founding fathers set up the United States so that there was a separation of church and state. This country is made up of immigrants. So many of the early immigrants who came to this country were escaping from religious persecution. And may I ask those who want to restore America to its Christian roots, what form of Christianity are we going to practice? So what happens if I practice a spirituality that does not live up to your Christian beliefs? Religious nationalism has nothing sacred about it. I read an article this week about Hindu nationalism that's happening now in India, where Christians and Muslims are being persecuted for their faith. A great book to read is The Kingdom, the Power, and the Glory by journalist Tim Alberta. Did you know that pastors are being told not to preach about turn the other cheek because it's woke theology? Again, those are the words of Jesus, of turning the other cheek. Why not? Because it's woke or it's weak. I kid you not, this is happening in churches and pulpits around America. So that is why I'm encouraging everyone, and I mean everyone, to go vote here in the United States this November. The freedom to practice your religious belief in the United States is in jeopardy. Well, good evening, everyone. If you wondered what you've tuned into, this is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network. I am the Reverend Michael Mangus, and we are going through the news. The last news article that I thought was interesting this week. Finally, the shift. No, I did not say that bad word. Because I was trained not to say the 7 words banned by the Federal Communications Commission, even though even on this network that we say some of those words. But finally, the shift hit the fan this week with evangelical Christians concerning the topic of homosexuality. Theologian Richard Hayes' reversal comes at a bad time for those who oppose accepting LGBTQ Christians. This is from the Religion News Network. Nearly 30 years ago, a revered New Testament professor at Duke Divinity School named Richard Hayes, seen there on the left-hand side, published a book called The Moral Vision of the New Testament. It was a sweeping 508-page mediation of Christian ethics in which Hayes concluded that the Christian Bible condemns homosexual acts. Hayes called homosexuality one of the many tragic sins that we are a broken people, and says that churches should not sanction or bless homosexual unions. This book that Hayes put out in, I think it was like 1995, 1996. It made Hayes a darling among conservative evangelicals who oppose LGBTQ acceptance in their churches, and the broader culture of frequently citing Hayes' work in debates. But, and this is the big but, this is why the shift has hit the fan, but the 75-year-old Hayes, since retired, now admits that his moral vision wasn't exactly 2020 when it came to this issue in 1996, and he's ready to set the record straight. In a book that's scheduled to be released in September, The Widening of God's Mercy, Sexuality Within the Biblical Story, also written with his son, Christopher B. Hayes, the elder Hayes makes an about-face that which is already causing an uproar in evangelical circles. So with his son, who is a professor of Old Testament at Fuller Theological Seminary in California, Hayes argues in a preview of the book posted on his publisher's site that a dynamic and gracious God who is willing to change his mind has already gone on ahead of our debates and expanded his grace to peoples of different sexualities, and includes Richard Hayes' epilogue reflecting on his own change of heart and mind. Now, his son is currently, again, a professor at Fuller Theological Seminary. It's going to be interesting to see if he keeps that position or not. In response to the news, again, the shift hitting the fan, prominent conservative Christian thinkers, perhaps unsurprisingly, displayed almost no curiosity about the actual arguments made in the book, which none of them have actually read. Instead, they erupted on social media with conjecture, hand-wringing, and denunciations. This is usually what happens when a book or a theologian or pastor or preacher comes out and goes against the evangelical or tradition of Christian morals and values. Denny Burke, who is a professor at a Southern Baptist college and president of the Council for Biblical Manhood and Womanhood, who once admitted that he had been helped time and time again by Hayes's scholarship, decreed and declared that he was deeply grieved by the news. Robert Gagnon, who is a professor of New Testament at Houston Baptist University, penned a nearly 1,500-word thread on X, formerly known as Twitter, attacking Hayes's new book. He said this, he says, God has not changed his mind. Hayes and Son have changed their minds. They are now swimming in the sea of heresy, rejecting the clear and overwhelming witness of Scripture. Conservative Christians who oppose LGBTQ inclusion, they still hold great power and maintain control of countless Americans in this situation. Earlier this year, a senior employee at the seminary where the younger Hayeses teach was fired for refusing to sign the school's statement on sexual standards, which says that sexual union must be reserved for marriage, which is the covenant union between one man and one woman. In 2015, Fuller professor Daniel Kirk was refused tenure for disagreeing over same-sex marriage. At the time, Fuller has made no public statement in response to the book or the Hayeses. Now, this is the commentary by the writer. He says, this day has been many years in the making. In June of 2020, I posted on a social media thread that it is a poorly kept secret that Richard Hayes doesn't exactly stand by what he wrote about homosexuality. Suffice to say, if Christians want to invoke Hayes's argument in the Moral Vision to contend for a traditionalist view, you should be aware that you're probably more enthusiastic about the content than the author is. So this is the author's commentary on this. He says, as a gay man, I've had Hayes's previous arguments weaponized against me in debates more times than I care to recall. I can sympathize with both the sentiment and the anger. But as theologian and poet, Christian Wyman has written, whatever faith you emerge with at the end of your life is going to be not simply affected by that life, but intimately dependent upon it. For faith in God is, in its deepest sense, faith in life, which means, of course, that even the staunchest life of faith is a life of great change. It follows if you believe at 50 what you believed at 15, then you have not lived, or you have denied the reality of your life. He goes on to say, he says, believing that thinking a Christian should be allowed to change their mind and that such a change is actually a sign of faithfulness is part of what sets a person like the author apart from conservative and fundamentalist rings of Christianity. This is perhaps the kind thing that Paul is referring to, the Apostle Paul is referring to when he speaks of being transformed by the renewing of their minds. Can I get an amen out there? So, in the New Testament, let's understand that Paul was killing Christians before he saw the light on the road to Damascus. Do you know that there are only 6 verses in the Bible, 6 verses in the Bible that mention homosexuality? 6. How many verses are in the Bible about assisting the poor, the widows, and also children. Over 100 in both the Old and New Testament. When individuals from laity all the way through very scholarly theologians really study the issue of homosexuality, they have come to the same conclusions that Richard Hayes came to, because they consider the word homosexual in the context of which it was said in the Old and New Testament. And the debate continues. By the way, abortion is not mentioned in the Old or New Testament at all. And that same Bible has also been used to keep women from ministry and to justify slavery. Did you know in this country, there are clergy that will not marry interracial couples in the year 2024? I kid you not, because I was called in to do the ceremony when other ministers turned them down. There is a change happening in the world, whether individuals like it or not. The change is a world that does work for all. And that's the news. Well, good evening to everyone. How are you? This is the Friday evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network with Reverend Michael Mangus. We will go to some announcements and then we'll take a short break, and then I will come back and I will speak on planting your seeds for prosperity. That's what's nice about having a cough button, is I don't have to cough on here. This is live now, okay? So, this Sunday, yours truly has planted himself at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you will find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. Yes, that's the AM. That's the morning time. I get that. Grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso. Please join us. I do believe that we have one of the best services that I have seen in New Thought. And this Sunday, we have gone to great expense. We will have speaking New Thought Media Network superstar and all around a nice guy, the Reverend Michael Mangus. With hopefully a great message. So go to summitcsl.org for more information. Join our Zoom call. We love to have guests. We promise that we won't beat you up or try to persuade you that our way is the right way. We love everyone. So the service is also simulcast on the Summit Spiritual Center of Akron Facebook page, and our Facebook page also has past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat and yours truly when he is praying on the New Thought Media Network. All right. We are going into the spring and summer months, and we are requesting your help to take this message to the world. Partner with us, please. We are getting opportunities almost daily to take this message to the world, and that it requires monetary funds to do that. So we're asking you, as our faithful viewers here, to please help us, partner with us. Go to ntmedia.org/donate. There you can give a very generous one-time gift, or you can do like I do, which is on a monthly basis, I give a sustaining gift. The sustaining gifts is the number that we use to set budgets, not the one-time gifts. but sustaining giving. So again, we ask for your help here. That's ntmedia.org/donate. And thank you so very, very much. Okay. We'll be back with more of the Friday evening fireside chat in just a moment here on your New Thought Media Network.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
So I talk about here on this program things that interest me. And because I didn't have a guest this evening, well, first of all, I thought, well, maybe I should just do a best of. But then I start seeing all the news and I said, I think I need to go do a live broadcast. Well, this week, in honor of Pastor Joel Osteen's new book called Speak the Blessing, I thought that I would bring up a talk and a topic that I did on the miracle of prosperity, which is seen weekly at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday evenings here on the New Thought Media Network. Reverend Jim Webb went ahead and gave me controls for the whole evening and said, you can do whatever you want. That is dangerous. Or he trusted me. So we're going to talk this evening briefly about planting seeds for prosperity. I have a wonderful graphic here, which I made on AI. I made on ChatGPT, which is a gardener planting money seeds. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this subject is because that prosperity teaching in and of itself has gotten a really bad rap over the past few years. I'll talk about it more in a moment. And that individuals, especially in New Thought, don't understand now, again, that we've gone from, again, just going ahead and saying prosperity affirmations to, okay, so anything that's blocking that or any kind of emotional upset, let's fix that first before we go ahead and we do affirmations. The challenge is that individuals are not doing affirmations. And Ernest Holmes and Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, all the great ones have said that for us to change our life, for things to turn around in our lives, that we must plant consciously new seeds into the universe. Now, I know that many of you are familiar with this V symbol. However, there are some in the audience that are not. The reason why prayer works is because of this model. Spirit, at the beginning, whenever that was formless and shapeless. It was energy. And this being intelligent, wanted to know more about itself. So it decided to create. Now, that does not violate science. You can still believe in the Big Bang Theory. Not a big deal. It's just that, again, in the beginning, there was God, or this intelligence. Elohim, many gods, which some Bible scholars say that are both. In the beginning, there was masculine and feminine God. Okay, so in the beginning, God saying, "Let there be light." This command went into the soul, or the soil of the universe, which only does one thing, and that is say yes, to produce the effect of light. Now, I know that this is a simplification of what really happened. However, that this symbol that I'm showing you is represented in us. All the scriptures of all the great traditions say that we were made in the image and likeness of our Creator. The reason that some of our lives, probably most individuals, get so messed up is because we don't learn this principle. And that if things are not to our liking, then we, as an individualization of that one life, that we can change it, again, using the conscious mind into this subconscious or subjective mind and into our world. And again, that Ernest Holmes and the Fillmores and other great teachers, other great New Thought teachers, said that it's not that we have individual conscious minds or individual subconscious minds. we have an atmosphere within it because there's only one. Now, I know for some people that's kind of who are new to this kind of teaching, that is kind of a new concept. And I'll be honest with you, it took me a while to really get it. However, that what I'm sharing with you this evening is the way out of whatever situations that you are currently in. If you find yourself stuck in the mud, if you find yourself in life conditions that are not to your liking, what I suggest to individuals is this. If you're being abused, if you're being mistreated, then get out. If you feel that you cannot get out, then start by changing your thinking. Start by consciously changing your thinking, again, into this great soil of the universe. Now, the reason I bring this up is because Joel Osteen, again, published a new book this week called Speak the Blessing. The one thing that Joel does not tell you is why it works. Why, when you speak the blessing, that your life is blessed. And I will use our symbol again to show you. When you speak a blessing, which is again in the Old and New Testament, when you speak a blessing over yourself or other people, what happens is that it goes into the impersonal law, which only knows to say one thing, and that is yes. Now, what helps that thought? What helps that belief is when we go ahead and we speak it with faith and conviction, that we know that there is this law, which again is like the soil. When you go ahead and you plant carrot seeds, what do you get? You get carrot seeds, or you get carrots. If you go ahead and you plant petunias, what do you get? Petunias. Same thing here. The reason that Joel and the reason why other Word of Faith teachers in the charismatic Word of Faith movement, of which his father was a part of, this is the reason why it works, is because that your prayer, your thought goes into this great soil of the universe and produces an effect. So here you go. So how do you change that? How do you change that is by planting new seeds into that soil. I would really recommend getting Joel's book, Speak the Blessing. I think that it gives a pretty good overview of how to do this. Remember now, and this is what we teach our beginners in the foundations classes in New Thought Centers, is we teach them to watch what they say. It's one thing to have a fleeting thought, but it's another thing for it to come out of your mouth. Because when you speak it, you birth it. When you speak it, you birth it. So I'm not saying deny sickness, dis-ease, an empty bank account, failed relationships, or anything like that. I'm not saying ignore that. But what I'm saying is that for there to be a real change in our lives, is we have to set a new cause in motion. So Ernest Holmes said this: if we really want change in our lives, that we spend 10 to 15 minutes per day thinking about life the way that we want it to be, using the creative process that I just told you. Another way is by speaking words of affirmation. Now, these are from Catherine Ponder's books and her teaching. If you want more information, go to unityworldwide.com. But when you start speaking words like this in a general fashion, that what happens is that things start to change in your life. All of the wonderful theory that we present on this network does not work unless you work it. So let's say together this affirmative thought from Catherine Ponder. I am the rich child of a loving Father, so I dare to prosper now. Okay, now I'll stop there, is because some people have a problem with calling God Father. Okay, doesn't matter. I am the rich child of a loving Father, Mother, God, so I dare to prosper now. Or I'm the rich child of a loving God or of a loving Spirit, and I dare to prosper now. See, as I say those words, what happens is the energy within me and the energy around me changes. I'm the rich child of a loving Father, so I dare to prosper now. Let's try another one here. My own true wealth now comes to me quickly, easily, and in peace. My own true wealth now comes to me quickly, easily, and in peace. My own true wealth now comes to me quickly, easily, and in peace. When you say those words out loud, what happens is, again, that you are consciously creating. Let me see some of our comments here. Wayne's here. Love is the creative force of the universe. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I only have a few more minutes here, so prosperity teaching has gotten a really bad rap, especially in the news. And you see these mega pastors with these huge homes. There's a memes I've seen on Facebook that says that Joel Osteen makes $54 million a year in salary off of his church. If you start doing a little investigating, you find out that Pastor Osteen has not taken a salary from his church in years. Ever since the publishing of his first book, Your Best Life Now, which is going on 20 years now. The reason he has the nice house, the reason he has the nice cars, the reason that he lives a wonderful lifestyle is because of income from his book sales. He has not taken a salary for years from his church. Now, let me say this too. There are many of these prosperity preachers who go ahead and say, well, if you give money to my ministry, you give money to God, and that you will be prospered because you do. And I'm going to say this here, that if they just teach you about the law of giving, they are not teaching you about the rest of the laws of prosperity. That's only one law. Giving is very important. Why? It's because of our God nature. It is natural for us to give. When we don't give of our money or anything, what happens again? Our lives become stagnant. So as we give, and again, let me teach you something here. As you give in love, so shall you receive. So any person, anybody on YouTube, anybody on TV or the cable that does not teach these other prosperity principles that we teach in New Thought, which is to change your thinking that changes your life. If you still have past programming in you from society, from mom and dad, from your grandparents, from school, from the adults around you, that what happens is that you will not experience life and life more abundantly, as talked about in the New Testament. So what changes that around is when you start thinking about what you want instead. That's the first topic. And the second one is to start saying prosperity affirmations like the one that I've shared this evening. Let's try one more here before we go. Here's a good one I like. All the wealth of the universe that has for me now comes to me speedily, richly, and freely. All the wealth that the universe has for me now comes to me speedily, richly, and freely. All the wealth that the universe has for me now comes to me speedily, richly, and freely. So here's an exercise to plant new seed into your subconscious soil. Write on a piece of paper all of your current prosperity beliefs, like money is hard to get. You have to work hard for the money. That wealthy people are evil. That money is filthy lucre. That to be spiritual means not to prosper. All of those thoughts, to put them down on a piece of paper, and then to take out another sheet of paper and put down the opposite belief. The opposite belief is this, is that you are the rich child of a loving spirit, and that all that the Father, Mother, God has is yours. But you have to claim it, though. Put on the other piece of paper the opposite beliefs. Like I am receiving now, I'm receiving all the good that the universe has for me now. Or this one, money now comes to me easily and effortlessly. Here's another hack. To go ahead and to visualize yourself receiving money easily and effortlessly. The mind works through pictures, not just thought, not just emotion. The language of the brain is pictures. So if you spend time daily planting new seeds of prosperity within you, you will see an abundant harvest. Now, again, be patient. When you plant like a carrot seed, you don't expect the carrot to come up. But here's another hack, is to feel the feelings as if you've already received it. Feel the feelings as if you've already received it. And you will soon receive it. How about that? I did some teaching this evening. All right. Well, listen, again, thank you for watching this evening. I hope that you got something out of that. If you would like to get in touch with me, Let me give you my email address, which is pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. All right. Next week, we will have a guest somehow. And again, we will be talking the news and talking about how we all can make a world that does work for all. On behalf of all of us here at the New Thought Media Network, I'm Reverend Michael Mangus. I'm going to wish you a very pleasant good night and also have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.